Good afternoon, and it's Lilia from Heal Scotland and Scotland's Wild Medicine here. And today I've got with me a very old friend. We have known each other for a long time. My first ever yoga teacher, Fiona Gass. Fiona, how are you? Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you so much for coming to the festival.
Oh, it's my pleasure. As you know, I was there last year, and for me, it was like a homecoming almost, because I put it on the Tarbert, Facebook group. Your old drillies coming back to haunt you, So if anyone wants to meet up, and a couple of old pupils did. Old pupils, God, I mean, when you think that my pupils are now in their 60s, and honestly, what a laugh we had! It was just hilarious. So I'm looking forward to it.
It really, really was. And it kind of, the idea came through, and then I was like, oh, why not just try it? So it was so amazing that we pulled it off the way that we did. And what really I loved was that all my friends who are very generous with their time for Heal Scotland, because they believe passionately like I do, they had a brilliant time. You do your hour or your 90 minutes workshop, and then you go and experience all these other amazing teachers, speakers, motivators. So it was great to get that feedback too, that people that had helped me really, really enjoyed it. So I'm delighted to have you. Now, a little bit of background. Obviously, you were a school teacher for I don't know how many years, but also you were instrumental in the hydration of pupils. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I mean, obviously, my first career was a PE teacher, and moving to Tarbert, I was the first full-time drilly there, so it was quite an experience for both of us, the kids and myself, and the parents were amazing. And I've got so many stories about that, but I wouldn't go on about that just now. So yes, I then went on to later on, when I'd left Tarbert and had my daughter and was going back to education a little bit, I decided to study special educational needs. And in between time, I had become qualified in kinesiology way back in 1989. I think I started that one, although I'd been doing stuff before then, reflexology in 1986, and various, in those days, Lily, you were a white witch, you were some sort of oddity. But the reason, I wanted to get kinesiology into schools. And in order to do that, I had to have my diploma in special educational needs. So going back, I had to tick that box and have that qualification. So then I had the title of an SEN support teacher. And I was very fortunate because I got into schools with head teachers, this was in primary, who were very open to anything, and when I was suggesting, that each child has access to water, let's try it. I mean, I had the odd one where, the teacher was like, we can't do that because they'll need to go to the toilet all the time, but more often not, I do pat myself in the back for getting water initiated into schools way back then. And I was fortunate enough to bring over an amazing woman called Carla Hannaford from America. And we did a big event at what was then called Jordan Hill. And that was covered even by the Educational Times newspaper. So it was really a good boost to get water into schools and kinesiology, because that was her baby. She was a neurophysiologist, and she just could talk about anything to do with the brain and performance and functioning and learning. It was incredible.
And obviously, I mean, I do a bit of kinesiology in what I do, but the hydration's key. Same with biofeedback. If you want the information to be flowing, yeah.
Number one.
Was that what made you kind of think of that, or had you just been aware of it through the rest of your training?
I came across kinesiology really kind of serendipitously when I was down in London at a big health fair, and I happened to see a stand and went up and experienced it, and I was gobsmacked because, kinesiology was a subject I studied as a PE teacher, because it's the science of human movement. You're meant to know how muscles switch on and off when you're doing a cartwheel, as if you're interested, but it was still one of these things we had to have in our curriculum. And So yes, the whole hydration thing is really the number one thing that you do before any form of kinesiology with anyone is and it's something I'll be certainly doing with the children, and hopefully we can get the children either to bring along a bottle of water or water will be available for them, because that's something, and it's really quite fun as well, you know, being able to demonstrate. This is the great thing about kinesiology, is you can tell kids till you're blue in the face, you know, that it's good to drink water, but actually being able to demonstrate how the brain switches on and off, and how if you get water, it just goes on like that. It's like throwing a piece of paper in a fire, you know?
Yeah.
And kids are so open to, I think, the demonstration side of kinesiology, because they just love the proof.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see your body at work, isn't it? You know,
Totally.
you can engage kids in anything. They're naturally curious. So let's. Why would you want your kids to be aware of kinesiology for people that are maybe, because at the gather the whole weekend we have phenomenal fun and educational and inspirational things going on for over the 3 days. So if anybody's watching this thinking about bringing their kids along, because kids go for free up to 18, it's all free. We need to get this information out. Why would any parent listening think, oh, what would be the benefit for my children?
Well, obviously, it can depend on the age of the child. I mean, as a kinesiology therapist, I work with babies upwards. Although with wee ones, it's always done through surrogacy. But why would a child be involved in or want to come and be part of it? Yes, fun is so important. It has to be fun, but it's also about empowering, as you know. It's about passing over tools and techniques and tips that they can take away and do at a moment's notice. You know, they can do things just to help switch this brain, get it glowing more and more clarity and feeling better in themselves and lifting their frequencies, because as you know, it's all about frequency. So these tools and techniques will help them to keep their frequencies buoyant. And, you know, I was once told by an amazing kinesiology teacher I had, who was a New Zealand medical doctor who had decided to escape and climb over the wall and get out of the medical system.
A lot of them are doing that now.
And this is many, many years ago, and he was one of the top kinesiology teachers. And I was very fortunate to be able to cross his path. And, you know, he actually said, nothing ever changes without noticing. If you can't notice, if you don't notice, nothing will change. And therefore, noticing is a big part of kinesiology, because you're helping others to raise their noticing skills, if you like, so that they can then bring in the tools to help notice another shift in their frequency.
Wow, that's very powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
An awareness. You know,
absolutely.
Because I teach something called the emotion codes, which is all done on kinesiology. And very often, so basically you would ask, do I have a trapped emotion in my body contributing to pain in my shoulder, for example? Because obviously we're understanding now that emotions are the root cause of a lot of our health issues, trapped emotions or suppressed emotions. And then the body will say yes or no. I usually just get people to stand and do a sway test. But I know there's various ways we can talk about that you can test. And then very often we ask, can we release this trapped emotion now? Very often the body will just say yes. But on occasion it'll say no. And then you have to say, do I need to know what age I was when this emotion was trapped? And the body will say yes or no. Or it can also be an inherited trapped emotion. So and I know this from biofeedback as well. It's like, I wonder why sometimes the body is just like, no, I want you to be aware of what happened and what age you were and where where the emotion was trapped. It wants you to, I suppose, notice. And I'm always like, well, don't try and figure out why. Just accept the yes or no and just allow the the release of the trapped emotion to happen. So it's really interesting, isn't it? I've never heard it phrased like that before.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose letting go is the same. It's like, what are you noticing? And also, I suppose we're very distracted, and the body's trying to communicate. And
you took the word right out of my mouth. You know, there's so many distractions. You know, the difference when we were kids compared to children now, the distractions are just full on from the moment they're waking up. Screen time, noise, pollution. You know, everything is such a distraction, and it must be very tricky for them to get quiet, peace time, or being able to manage that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do see a lot of children. Obviously, when I see them, they've maybe had a few years of not being catered for. Let's put it politely. So they're usually either they're usually a mixture of spectrum, ADHD, dyslexia, and you know the system as it is. And of course, I used to be in the system, the educational system, and it was very much like trying to put a round peg in a square hole, and just not being able to help these children get their brain into a way that can flow, because a big part of educational kinesiology, which I also do, is also about whole brain learning. Whereas when we're under any kind of stress, we tend to go into our dominant brain. So if you're dominant in, let's say, the right side of your brain, then you won't see the trees for the wood. You'll be overwhelmed with just so much information. Whereas if you're dominant your left side, you won't see the wood for the trees because you're just so stuck in all the details and minutiae. So that's where, sorry, I've got pieces of hair that keep floating down over my face. So that's where, the integration of the two hemispheres is a lot of the work that I'm doing with children. It's not as simple as that, as you know. There's a whole complex of jib jabs and the diet and everything that's gone before. So it's not always, but I'm quite big on detoxing children from heavy metals as well.
Yeah, that's a hugely important thing. Yeah. And I think people don't tend to understand the toxic overload and how if you have toxic parents making a baby and then they have a lot of things put in or not put in to the body that creates their own wee toxic load. And obviously they're placing the family has an effect on that as well. And yeah, there's so many things affecting it. And we have to have that holistic overview to fully understand and to also make the most of how the best the kid can be, regardless of the label. My friend Giovanna, who's a homeopath, she was telling me the other day in her live, she's going to be at the festival as well. Her son was autistic and non-verbal, and she, started searching and came across homeopathy, and it wasn't like that. It's a miracle, but he's now verbal and very social, and so there are so many things that we can do, and that's a big part of the Heal Scotland mission, is to introduce people like yourself, ideas, words, so that you understand. If you're ever in a position and need something that's not drugs or surgery, that you know where to go. You're like, yeah, I met that person at and you can have a conversation. Are you going to be around for the whole festival?
Oh, absolutely.
Brilliant.
I'm coming on the Thursday and leaving on the Monday.
Fantastic. So people will be able to have a chat with you. So tell me what you're going to do at the festival. Tell me what your offering is, what people can expect.
Well, I don't obviously know these children. I don't know what age they'll be. I don't know how. Do you know how many I'll have, Lilia?
No, not yet. Not yet. It's 3 weeks to go. The tickets are still on sale. So
yeah. So obviously not knowing the age group, but I think I did say
it'll be varied.
8 to 12-ish, kind of, roughly. And depending on the children, some can be left, some might need a parent at the side. Obviously, I'm not the decision maker of that, but we'll be having fun. Is first of all foremost, as you know, being an XP teacher, kids are magical. And obviously I'll be introducing them to techniques to help their brain glow, and we'll be going through a little procedure to do that, and switching on different parts of their brains and bodies to able to just focus better and listening better, and finding out. We actually might do a finding out of their dominances, because that can be quite fun. You know, most people know I'm right-handed, you know, but to find out your dominance pattern, and I can take along a dominance book, so that could be a fun kind of colouring in thing for them to find their dominance patterns. And then they can always take a photograph of what that means from the book, so they can go away and see what that how that can affect their learning. And it can even affect actually where you even sit in a classroom, depending on your dominant eye and dominant ear. But you know, none of that stuff is really taken on board by mainstream education.
No. So it's up to parents really to educate themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's just the harsh reality. It's the same with the health. You know, we're in a place now, you're not getting treated, you're getting trained. You know, learn how to do these things yourself. You're all very powerful, and it's so interesting.
Yeah, so I know. And we've also got, of course, the aftermath of the 2 years that children's education was inhibited greatly. I mean, I just saw a 14-year-old the other day down from your neck of the woods in Argyll. And, you know, we got talking, and it turned out, you know, the whole COVID thing kicked in when she was in primary 6. So they all totally missed primary 7. You know, so I mean, you just can't imagine what that must have been like.
I mean, when we were doing our book signing, this girl came with her mum and her baby, who was a year old. And the baby just crawled over to me and really took to me. And she sent me a message afterwards saying, "You're the first human she's done that to," because she was a lockdown baby. I mean, what? Absolutely. I mean, don't get me started.
Oh, no, don't get me started either. We're not going down that rabbit hole.
I mean, oh my God. Anyway, So if, like, teenage anxiety is a huge issue for people. What is it they call it? Social anxiety. And so would that be able to help with that?
Well, the whole thing about a kinesiology session is called a balance. And I do work with teenagers as well, because often it's not just one simple thing. It's their perception, and, you know, the influence of social media can be pretty horrific and cruel. And, you know, the children have got all that to deal with, as well as their image, their self-worth, their whatever's happening at school. So I usually work, if I'm doing what I would call a proper balancing session with someone, with a teenager, I would work with a goal. And we get the goal from the higher self, let's call it. I mean, yes, I do consult with conscious mind, because it's always interesting to see what they come out with. But it's ideally, what I do is I bypass that, and we go to the subconscious, the higher self, and I get information. When I'm working with clients, I work silently until I get the information, simply because I don't want their conscious mind to be engaged in the process, and I want them to be relaxed. And also, of course, I work with people in different parts of the world, so I'm able to tap into their soul, spirit, consciousness, and get the information before we even meet online, which is quite cool. And it lets me work with people in different parts of the place.
So you still practicing, like, or part-time, full-time? What's the...
kind of part-time. You know, I'm 70 now, so I've got to... So I keep telling myself I'm semi-retired, and it's nice. I do suit myself, obviously, client-wise.
Perfect. 70.
But I know it's mental. It is mental. I mean, what the hell does that mean?
I know.
And I keep saying to myself, you know, I should be doing more workshops and just sharing information with more people at one session, and that would get them going off and helping themselves more. Obviously, if there's deeper issues, then yeah, you sometimes need a bit of help. Self-testing is great, but it will have its limitations as well for people not perhaps knowing the direction of questioning or the depth or the breadth of it. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm very excited to learn more. I mean, I love all that. We were doing some stuff in one of the Goddess gatherings with the, how basically the neural connections and how you can use movement. And it was so, and somatic release. I just love all that stuff. It is so interesting and it's simple. And I think you can let go a lot of stuff out the body without having to go into like counselling session, which sometimes is totally necessary. But there's so much we can do ourselves that we really don't need anybody else to help us with once you understand. So, so listen, I really look forward to seeing you. And thanks again for your time today and for helping at the festival. It's hugely appreciated and valuable information. Anybody that's listening, how can people get in touch with you? Well, obviously they can come and meet you at the festival. But for somebody that's maybe not going to be at the festival, how can people get in touch with you if they're interested?
Yeah, I kind of rearranged all that fairly recently. So on Facebook, I actually started another profile called Fiona Kiniesiology. So it's quite a useful little profile. And I've got a page there, which is Get Ahead Solutions, which is a nice little acronym of my surname. Get Ahead Solutions is a Facebook page. So, it's got details on there. And I actually I put a little Wix website up, fionagass.com, but it's only pretty good on laptop. It's not great on mobile, but most of the other information you'll get on Facebook anyway. Get me through WhatsApp or email.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I'm going back out for more sun before it disappears again.
Oh, you just get clouds and overcast. Stop it.
Yeah, my vitamin D boosted.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you, and I'll see you in 3 weeks. Awesome.
Fabulous. Thanks again. Awesome. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.